Alright, hello everyone, welcome to my second episode of our Tainted Grail lore series. I'm Internet Tomato, and today I should probably start off with a little apology. So I'm sorry, I really ought to have done this video first, but I didn't think it all the way through. Undead Sophie, who commented on my channel update, made me realize that before I begin really getting into the lore, I need to go over the lore from a player character's perspective first, since many haven't played the board games yet, or maybe never will. So, when you first begin Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon, you're given very little information to start yourself off. Then all of a sudden, you're just thrown into all of Avalon to explore. In the board game, you have to make these world-affecting decisions with only this description. This island was not meant for humans. Looming on the border between our reality and the ancient power known as the Weirdness, it was populated by a mysterious, legendary race. Humans came here anyway, with their wooden ships, their ambitious king, and his fellowship of knights. Running from a plague ravaging their distant homeland, they took the island piece by piece, raising menhirs of foreboding shape and mysterious purpose. The former masters of the island were wiped out. 400 years later, not even their name remains. The people of Avalon simply call them the Foredwellers. The times are harsh. The Red Death is back, the menhirs are dying, and without their power, the land itself crumbles back into the weirdness. I can imagine that in the RPG, this feeling of really not knowing what is going on must be more prevalent. Though the intro helped me so that I wasn't totally lost, I found myself wishing I had been given a more in-depth picture of Avalon before I started Chapter 1 of Tainted Grail. So that is the mindset I have for this video, explaining what I wish I knew when I started so that I would feel immersed in the game, like a southern layman's knowledge of history and of Avalon. In this video, I will explore a spoiler-free history of Tainted Grail and the Tainted Grail world, hoping to provide you with better context whether you're starting off the RPG, the board game, or just want to see what direction the franchise took with the King Arthur legend. If you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, consider subscribing, and dropping a comment. So, yeah, let's get started. Before I continue, I just want to go over briefly some things. So when I say core game, I mean the board game, titled Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. And when I say the RPG, I mean the video game, which has the same title of Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. Also, the first Tainted Grail video game is called Tainted Grail Conquest, but for some reason, I think it just shows up on Steam as Tainted Grail. The other part I want to clarify is that though there are legends of King Arthur and the Round Table across tons of shows, books, and games, Tainted Grail decided to tell the story differently. Though there will likely be some similarities to other King Arthur stories, Awakened Realms, which made Tainted Grail, also like taking folk tales and legends from Britain, France, and Eastern Europe and integrated them into the story. So, just as an example, some tales equate giants and Fomorians as the same creature, but that is not true at all in Tainted Grail. Those are two different species with entirely unique cultures and histories. So just keep that in mind that I am diving into the Tainted Grail universe specifically, and not King Arthur or Celtic folklore, even though Awakened Realms use those as inspiration. And one last thing. What I'm going to say is not the exhaustive history of Tainted Grail, and I'll provide details as the general populace of Avalon believes them. That means you may find some of the descriptions or explanations false once you delve into the world on your own, or if you watch the other lore videos. But this is what I'd call Avalonian common knowledge. The typical citizen generally believes the things in this video, but that doesn't mean that it's all accurate. Let's start at the beginning of known history, from the human perspective. Whether you begin the game in the RPG or the core game, as they are separated only by about 4 years. 6 centuries ago, the small yet mighty kingdom of Camlan grew in strength, led by the legendary King Arthur, known to enter a cycle of death and rebirth with every arisen apocalyptic crisis, and his court wizard Merlin, more powerful than anyone could imagine, with knowledge far extending into the supernatural and otherworldly. The pair and the Knights of the Round Table could do the unimaginable with the distinct traits, skills, and backgrounds that they all had. They stood toe-to-toe against the mystical and titanic foes. They held their own despite impossible odds, and even had times of peace with sworn enemies to create a wondrous age for the people. Then came the Red Death, a brutal disease, frighteningly contagious and far more dangerous. The lucky would die or have a chronic disease, much like leprosy, but some would become unrecognizable husks of their former selves. They would go insane and become violent. Camlan desperately fought the disease, with few wins and severe losses. To combat the Red Death, the Order of the Red Priests was created, which used experimentation to find a cure. They were definitely not nearly enough, and Camlan was surely lost, as the Red Death would soon consume all in the homelands. In desperation, Arthur made the impossible decision of leaving Camlan and making for the shores of a mysterious island he had heard rumors of. After many weeks of sea travel, they finally landed upon the fog-covered land of Avalon. This savage place was nothing like what the refugees had hoped for. This was no land of milk and honey. It was alien. Peering through the gray swirling mists, they saw a feral, unforgiving world, with the unthinkable being expected. Some plants grew sideways or upside down. Beasts had extra rows of teeth and oozed ichor. I can hardly imagine the terror that the first scouts felt when finding not only mutated creatures, but humanoid footprints the size of a horse, and the first time they found a trail leading to a giant worm capable of smashing down and crushing dozens in moments. The land had beautiful yet terrifying vistas. With each day of travel, new anomalies would be discovered, such as a forest of saplings, and a woodland with trees reaching to the sky, yet somehow bent in unnatural ways. Then they also learned another devastating fact, that Avalon wasn't as untamed as it first appeared. It was inhabited by the fearsome Four-Dwellers, who likely lived on this island for centuries with their own belief system, religious landmarks, and civilization. To these beings, the weirdness was their playground. They could use this mist to weave magic, and were unaffected by the consequences of prolonged exposure, unlike humanity, who went mad or mutated when being out there for too long. To Avalon, the refugees were just invaders, and the Four-Dwellers were willing to slaughter Arthur and his people, no matter the cost. So began the Age of Legends. Though the accounts are slightly different, most of the ships that landed on Avalon hit the southern part of the island. Arthur set up a foothold in the southeast of Avalon, and from there the king took his knights, soldiers, and closest allies and friends, and he went on a striking offensive. Arthur soon became a conqueror on Avalon. Through knightly quests, diplomacy, and military prowess, Arthur pushed into the mythic land and began the foundation of the new Camelot on the eastern side of the island, upon a cliff overlooking the sea. His adversaries were no match for the legendary king. Giants swore to never raise up arms against Arthur. The giant worms were hunted to extinction. The Four-Dwellers were defeated in pitched battles and driven to their home of Tuathon, where the weirdness was the most choking and thick. From there, though, Arthur didn't let up, and he defeated the Four-Dwellers on their own turf. It was a victory with severe losses on both sides, and with many sacrifices, but the Four-Dwellers were butchered and soon eradicated. Having escaped the Red Death and bested his enemies in the New World, only the weirdness remained an obstacle. Through the brilliance of Merlin and the ambition of Arthur, they discovered a way to push back the chaotic fog by using something called menhirs, giant, morbid statues that repelled the weirdness and allowed for humanity to thrive. After erecting these figures, the final crisis was averted. Arthur's work was finished, and he returned to his grave, only to wait to be resurrected again. For the last 600 years, the refugees from the homelands became the sole citizens of the island and forged their way. With their king gone and Merlin's disappearance, they were ruled by the Round Table. The knights, typically led by Sir Lancelot, aided the people in their expansion. Over the centuries, they uncovered all accessible parts of the island within the range of the menhirs. They discovered Fort-Dweller ruins and dead alien gods. The refugees returned to their old jobs as farmers, traders, and mercenaries, like they had been in Camland. While Camelot was in the east, they raised settlements to the south, where the land was tame and ripe for farming. To the north, smaller settlements arose and lay just outside the mouth of Tuathon, the entrance to the deserted Fort-Dweller capital. Then to the west, the larger cities abounded with lush trade, but also was closest to the boiling weirdness. Since the original settlers had such a variety of faiths and backgrounds, though, through the coming decades and centuries, the cultures evolved and they also merged. Though this time was not a golden age, it was one of relative peace compared to the Pyrrhic age of the Age of Legends. Settlements clashed due to land disputes, but Camelot usually quelled them before they led to full-blown battle. However, that did happen upon occasion. Arthur and his loyal followers' sacrifices yielded fruit for the people of Camland to begin anew. By now, there are several faiths and beliefs among Avalonians. The ones most well known are the faiths surrounding the All-Mother and All-Father from the homelands. While the All-Mother is a patient, gentle goddess, the All-Father is a zealous and vengeful god. Most Avalonians are followers of one of these deities, but a common occurrence is religious intolerance between each other. Occasionally, a believer would be discriminated against and their holy sites may be vandalized or destroyed by zealots. There's also a faith that the Red Priests follow that has adapted to Avalon over the years. They believe in a semi-Christian faith that follows a prophet who added significantly to their knowledge of the Red Death. They hold a lot of power due to their stature in Camelot, so they are not exactly to be messed with. The cults on Avalon, though, can be a loud minority. I'll go over in order of what I view as least obscure to most obscure that your character would likely either have heard of or heard rumors of. So first off are the Druids. These magic casters are infamous for their war magic, necromancy, blood-filled rituals, and frequent use of mushrooms. Arthur and the Round Table tolerated the Druids begrudgingly and worked with a druidic order on Avalon founded in the Moon Ring, which lies near the very center of the island. Most Druids are not part of this order, or they splintered from it. That was until recently. A few years ago, due to the murderous and disturbing rituals of the Druids, the people of southern Avalon demanded justice, as much of Avalon hunted down the Druids and their families to be placed in a wicker man, where they were burned alive. East of the farming town of Connacht is the Charred Conclave, where this gruesome event occurred. All that is left of this ancient faith are those found in the Moon Ring, the Runaways, and the Druids who live in areas where their practices are accepted. The next group would be the Dalrita or Dalriata, depending on your accent, though there is little about them in the board game where a bulk of the lore is found. They are a group comprised of many tribes with regular infighting. They believe in the All-Mother, but they call her by a different name. They also have great reverence for the giants that once roamed this island. Next would be the Picts. Little is known about them, but likely some would be aware that they were very prevalent in the homelands, and they share many rituals and beliefs with the Druids. Some believe that Picts are all gone, but in fact, they do still exist, just in very small numbers. They are known for human sacrifices, blood magic, and bodily alterations. Then there are the last two, the cult of the Stagfather and the cult of Morrigan. The Stagfather cult is mostly full of huntsmen, and they keep to themselves in the south. They worship the god of the hunt, and sometimes leave their trophies at Stagfather shrines. Then there is the cult of Morrigan, which is located at the northernmost point. This cult follows the goddess of death. The cultists make regular living sacrifices, and most steer clear of their base for fear of being taken. And now we come to the cities of prominence. I believe there are a dozen in total, but I'll just detail the biggest three and Connacht. So first is Camelot, the capital of Avalon with the Round Table. Sir Lancelot leads from Camelot in Arthur's stead and attempts to keep Avalon in order. This castle was constructed to imitate the old Camelot back in Camland. Camelot is the most fortified position on the island, with its tall walls and standing army. Most nobility reside here, and it is a significant cultural center. It has a large borough outside the walls, where some of the population who frequent Camelot reside. Next is Timberwall, a mercantile community in the west. The city of Timberwall is adjoined to a massive barrier, also called Timberwall, which is a towering wall of timbers touching the clouds. The wall blocks off mainland Avalon from Tuathon, where the ancient home of the Four Dwellers is and where the weirdness is boiling, untouched by the Menhirs. Timberwall is known for its mercenaries, noble houses, and cutthroat trade. Then there is Farshire, the largest southern settlement, located west of Connacht and south of Timberwall. Lady Kincaid rules here and generally has a pretty good reputation among the locals. It is known for its extensive library and beautiful dolmen next to the city. A dolmen, for those of you who don't know, is a stone construction usually used for tombs, but in this case it is a gigantic stone structure of unknown origin. I'd wager that it's a few hundred feet up or about 100 meters high. And then last is Connacht, where the games have a focal point. Connacht is a large farming village in the far south of Avalon. Unlike most settlements, Connacht has a governor, Sir Yvain of the Round Table. I presume it is because it is one of the safest places in Avalon. It's far from the dangers of the followers of Morrigan, it's far from Tuathon, it's far from Sir Mordred the Dread Knight, and comparatively it's near Camelot. The people have lost much hope and have been the kind to watch the world go by. And finally, let's go over the south and the surrounding points of interest. As your character would likely know about these places, including the Horns of the South, which you can see here, the Island Asylum, Forlorn Swords, and Grubwood, which Forlorn Swords is way in the distance. I don't think you can see it from here. I may move there in this video, but I won't be too detailed, as I do want you guys to see it for yourself and explore it to get the experience of Tainted Grail, but your character would still know about them. So first off is the Horns of the South, a rundown fortress led by a small number of keepers. They're tasked with maintaining the old fort and occasionally acting as sheriffs for the local community. It lies on the southern shore and is where Arthur first landed on Avalon. Then we have the Island Asylum, where the Red Priests have a hospital for those affected by the Red Death. There are rumors of a working cure, but there are also rumors of people entering the asylum and never returning. Few set foot on the island, specifically the island asylum, not to be confused with Avalon, unless they are to be treated with the Red Death, or if they're part of the Red Priests. And next is the Forlorn Swords. It's a location known for its mountainous swords jutting into the earth, and it lies on a cliff overlooking the southern sea. Then last is Rubwood, an eerie forest inhabited by bandits, rumored to be haunted. It separates Connacht from the Horns of the South and is the main passage between the two. And in addition to these are forests, small villages, and vast plains, but that is all for you to see for yourself if you choose to play the board game. There are tons and tons of points of interest all across Avalon, but there are about a dozen locations, I'd say, in the south that you'd see if you play the board game. Also, I just do want to show you, there it is, the Forlorn Swords. It is hard to get a good view in this game. Sometimes it's foggy, and that obstructs the view pretty significantly. But there they are. They are quite mountainous, like I said. So, though this is what materialized over the centuries, the locations, the points of interest, everything that I've gone over, there are still some developments just prior to your setting in the Fall of Avalon and Conquest. So in recent years, the island has become more and more unstable, with weird creatures frequenting the land and bandits becoming brazen and plentiful. Its chaos has amplified due to the menhirs seemingly not as powerful as they once were. There's a growing fear of the consuming weirdness. Even the Round Table's knights are becoming less effective or lacking in their duties, and the Red Death has returned, leading to a resurgence of the Red Priests to cure this disease. The sickness is mostly controlled, but the symptoms now interact with the weirdness through disturbing mutations. In the turmoil, some Avalonians demand change, and some demand war, but most just want to stay out of politics and avoid conflict entirely. It is a time on the verge of an apocalypse or a revolution, and few are ambitious enough to be the heroes or villains capable of changing Avalon forever. I hope this video helps you in your future playthroughs of Tainted Grail to have a fuller picture of the world. There is much, much more, but to avoid spoilers and to keep it to what a character in the South would know of, I hope this video did that well. If there's anything you wish I had detailed more, or any lore you'd like to see in the future, please leave a comment and let me know. Also, if there's anything I missed or something I can improve on, please tell me that as well, since I really do want to make these videos better in the future. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe if you want more content like this. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys, all of you. Flip Flop, Undead Sophie, Ian, Jill, Jessica, all of you guys. I appreciate you all. And I know that there's many that I'm probably forgetting, but you're all awesome. You're all the best. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you later. So say bye, Quirko. The weirdness is coming. We better get out of here. Come on, buddy. All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.